So almost 5 years ago, Apple released the original HomePod. It hit the market for $349, and at the time I thought it was the best sounding speaker of its size that you could buy. But the problem is the price tag was just too high, and you had competitors like Amazon and Google offering similar sized speakers for significantly less. Plus you had Sonos offering the same sort of soundscape, maybe not as good, but for a lower price tag, and the idea of one day owning a proper home theater experience. But here we are in 2023 with the HomePod 2. It's retailing for $50 less at $299 and offers similar sound quality to the original one in a design that you're really used to. Now, if you were to take both of them and place them side by side, you'd have to look really hard to see the differences, but the new version is supposed to be shorter than the old one. But by using my eyes, I really can't tell the difference. I'd probably have to break out the ruler. The other change is the display. It's been recessed in the new version with the material going over it, whereas on the original one, it's just a flat top going over the recycled mesh. The actual feel of both devices are identical, but the colors are a bit different. The new one is darker. It's more of a midnight black compared to the charcoal on the original HomePod. The other addition, a welcome addition, is the ability to disconnect the power cable. This is good news because if you ever rip the power cable on the original one, you probably got to send this in and get something fixed, which would cost you time and extra money. Whereas if the power cable on the new version rips or has an issue, you can just go out and buy another one to replace it. The other difference is the bottom. On the original version, it kind of goes recessed inwards, whereas on the new one, it stays completely flat. Now, there are some technical differences, like for example, Wi-Fi 4 on the new one compared to Wi-Fi 5 on the original one. Based on my testing, they both respond similarly in terms of speed. Hey Siri, what's 12 times 12?
12 times 12 is 144.
But it's still using Bluetooth 5.0, but they did upgrade the chip that's inside of here. The original HomePod was using an A8, which you could find in an iPhone 6. This is using the S7, which Apple says is significantly faster and will help with computational audio. Now granted, it still has those amazing sensors inside so that it can detect the distance from a wall and any objects in the surrounding area to give you the best sound quality possible. But they did make some weird changes, like they removed 2 of the tweeters. The original one had 7 of them, but the new one only has 5. They are angled a bit differently, like the original one, they kind of just go circular and they go outwards. On the new one, they kind of angle up, and I'm not noticing that much of a difference. In fact, I'd probably say the overall sound quality on the new version is slightly better than the previous one. Now you still have a 4-inch woofer inside of here, but the mic array has been reduced to 4 from 6. However, I'm not noticing a difference in how it picks up my voice. It does it without any issues no matter where I am in the room. The other thing is there's new sensors inside of here. And when Apple first announced this, they said you can now detect carbon monoxide and smoke. Right off the bat, I'm like, wow, this has a carbon monoxide detector? But that's not what's happening. All it's doing is listening to the sound of your current smoke alarm or carbon monoxide detector if it ever goes off. If it does, it will send you a notification. But they did add a temperature and humidity sensor. This is something that was built into the HomePod Mini, but wasn't active until recently. So if you have a HomePod Mini, you should be able to ask it what the temperature and humidity is in the current room where your Mini resides. And you can do the same thing on the brand new HomePod. Hey Siri, what's the temperature in the room?
It's 22.8 degrees Celsius in the office.
Hey Siri, what's the humidity like in the room?
Humidity in the office is dry, at 28%.
But this is a smart speaker at the end of the day, and it's still using Siri. It's always going to use Siri. And look, if you're doing basic commands, Siri does it fine. Like, she's not the best smart speaker in terms of difficult questions. The competitors out there obviously do a better job, but for everyday, normal stuff, she does it quick and she handles it fine. Hey Siri, what's the weather like today?
Looks like it will be cloudy today. Daytime temperatures will hover around -1 degree, with overnight lows around -10 degrees.
I do like some of the Apple specific features, like being able to hand off your phone to the speaker to transfer the call or the music that you're listening to. But I decided to connect this to a monitor with 2 HomePod speakers connected and an Apple TV. And I was actually blown away by the sound. It actually sounds really darn good with 2 speakers connected. Like way better than two Sonos speakers or Sonos Ones connected to a TV. The stereo pair works perfectly. There's no delay when the person's talking. The sound quality is expansive, way better than using the speakers on your TV, and way better than most smart speakers out there. Now, sound quality is where things get very interesting. I first compared it to two HomePod minis in stereo mode. The HomePod minis actually kept up in terms of overall max volume, but it didn't have the same sound stage as the HomePod 2 just because there's bigger speakers inside of here. The overall sound that was coming out of this was more immersive than two HomePod minis, but it also made me realize how good the HomePod minis sound for a speaker of that size. Now, granted, I think most people are going to be comparing this to a Sonos One just because the size is similar and it's a product that's in direct competition with this. And here's what I found. The Sonos One does get about 5 to 8 decibels louder than a HomePod 2, but the way it sounds is quite different. It tends to emphasize the high end. The high end is brighter, and because of that, it sacrifices a bit of the low end. I found that the high end on the HomePod 2 was not as bright as the Sonos One, but the overall balance was more significant. Like, I prefer the sound quality on the HomePod 2 over the Sonos One. There was just more depth to the sound. It sounded smoother and cleaner. But if you're planning on buying a HomePod 2 to pair it with a HomePod 1, it will not work. If you want to stereo pair any of these devices, it has to be with the matching product. So HomePod Mini with HomePod Mini, HomePod 2 with HomePod 2, or HomePod 1 with HomePod 1. Now, in terms of spatial audio and all that stuff, I can't tell the difference. I honestly don't care about spatial audio at this point. It doesn't really make that much of a difference in terms of the sound that I'm listening to. Maybe if I had like 10 speakers around my head, then I could really appreciate spatial audio, but it's hard to get really excited about it with one speaker or two speakers paired together. This is what I have to say. If you're buying a smart speaker and you want the best sounding smart speaker and you don't mind spending $300, then the HomePod 2 is the one to get. If you're in the Apple ecosystem and you're looking for bookshelf speakers that are also smart speakers, two HomePods together sound incredible. But if you have any inclination of creating a home theater experience, I really suggest looking at other brands, because for $600 for a stereo pair, which sound great, are never going to compare to a proper soundbar. And at least with the Sonos products, you can pair the rears and then eventually buy a soundbar and then eventually buy a subwoofer and have a proper 5.1 channel experience. And for those of you out there who just want a smart speaker in the Apple ecosystem, I'd honestly just look at a HomePod Mini as well. You can buy two of them for a total of $200 and save $100. I still think this is the best sounding smart speaker out there for this size, but I feel like it's still a tad bit too expensive. I think a retail price of $249 would have been a lot more attractive. Anyways, that wraps up my review of the HomePod 2. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section down below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.